Let's begin with an update from the African Union Summit, where African leaders elected Djibouti's foreign minister to become the next leader of the commission that runs the continent-wide African Union. Mahmoud Ali Yusuf defeated Raila Odinga, a former prime minister of Kenya, and Richard Randramandrato, an ex-foreign minister of Madagascar, in a vote at the AU summit in Addis Ababa, the Ethiopian capital. The AU has 55 member states. Presidents or head of government pick the commission's leader, who is effectively the chief executive of the Addis Ababa-based Secretariat running the AU. Now Yusuf, who will serve a 4-year term, replaces Musa Faki of Chad, who has held the post since 2017. News Central's Bongani Siziba is on standby to give us more updates from the venue of the ongoing AU summit in Ethiopia. Hello Bongani, what more can you tell us about this development and also of Ali Yusuf's win?
Good evening, Darshan, and also good evening to our viewers. Like you have rightfully said, Muhammad Ali Yusuf has taken the reins as the leader of the AU Commission chairperson. But let me quickly just bring in the Minister of International Relations in South Africa, just to speak more about these elections and what South Africa has positioned itself, especially in the AU. Good evening, sir, and thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for your time. The elections, we have seen the elections, and Muhammad Ali Yusuf has taken the leadership. Your thoughts on his leadership that is coming?
Yeah, it's congratulations to him, and hard luck to Mr. Odinga and other candidates who also participated. We are glad that democracy has prevailed for the continent, and I think it's a good candidate. He has been a foreign minister for a very long time and has got a good grasp of the challenges of the continent and also of the developmental trajectory that the continent must take with regards to Agenda 2063 and also the Africa Free Trade Area, regional integration in terms of the economy, that there must be financing for development in the African continent. So I think we will give him all the support as member states of the AU for him to deliver on the Agenda 2063 and also on the policies and the programs that will be adopted here by this summit.
He is taking over the reins of Africa that is marred with conflicts. It's, like you have rightfully said, that the African countries will give him the support. Do you think that he will be able to lead in resolving the conflicts in Africa?
Yes, he will lead with the support of the member states that will provide to him, and South Africa will remain available to support programs of the African Union. As you are aware, our president is a champion of infrastructure, on health, on a number of issues, and there is also other champions, President Lorenzo, and peace and security in the continent. You are aware of the challenges in the continent. So we believe with that support, his coordination, we will be able to tackle the challenges and forge ahead as a continent.
As South Africa, how is South Africa positioning itself in the AU?
As you are aware, we also congratulate Lerato Mateboga, who has been elected as a commissioner in the AU position, which is the first time for South Africa to have a commissioner. It is historic for us, and we welcome this, and we will continue to participate in the various programs of the AU. As I've already said, our president is a champion of a number of initiatives of the AU, infrastructure, health. You will remember the role we played with regards to COVID, his leadership, and we have also been at the forefront of the Africa Free Trade Area. There is also other programs of the AU peace and security which South Africa is involved in, including peace missions in the various parts of the continent, the Eastern DRC. We are also currently involved in ensuring there's elections in South Sudan. As the chairperson of the Committee of Five, our president is also leading that initiative. We have just recently come back from South Sudan to engage in helping them with the process of elections that will be held at the end of 2026. And we look forward to a successful election. So South Africa is playing its role in ensuring that there is a rule of law, there is democracy, but above all, there is development in the continent, there is regional and economic integration, and the young people of the continent are also brought to bear. As you are aware, we will be hosting the G20. How do we harness this huge potential in terms of artificial intelligence, digital economies, and the other emerging economies in the world, particularly bringing this young untapped potential in the African continent. We have the majority of the youngest population in the world, so we have to use that potential. So we see our platform of the G20 as very key in driving the financing for development in the continent, issues of climate change, and issues of artificial intelligence. So that is the role that South Africa will continue to play.
Minister, I would not let you go before I ask you about the DRC issue, the Sandif soldiers that are there. You spoke intensively on why South Africa will not withdraw in DRC.
Yes, the territorial integrity of the DRC is sacrosanct, and this is the key chapter of the UN, Chapter 2 of the United Nations. This is the key of sovereignty of any nation. It's very important, and that's why we believe it's important that we play a supporting role to the semi-DRC that has been deployed by SADC to the east of the DRC to ensure that there is respect for the territorial integrity of the DRC, and we support the outcome of the East Africa community of the SADC process in terms of the East Africa and SADC, in terms of calling for a ceasefire, allowing of humanitarian access, reopening of the Goma airport, and of all the parties involved in the conflict, state and non-state actors, to come together to engage in a dialogue that must achieve long-lasting peace in the DRC.
Thank you so much, Minister. That was the Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, South Africa, Ronald Lamola, speaking to us on how South Africa is going to positioning itself in the AU, and also speaking about the DRC conflict, and also that question that I had to chip in about the South African soldiers in DRC, speaking that South Africa is not ready to withdraw the Sandif soldiers in DRC, but also speaking on the upcoming leadership of Youssef that is coming for the AU Commission. It's back to you now in the studio, Darshan.
Thank you so much, Bongani, for that update. We will link up with you at a later time for more on this. Now, away from that, let us tell you that more tributes are still pouring for the late leader of the Yoruba social cultural group, Afenifere Ayo Adebanjo, who passed on Friday at the age of 96. This comes as Chief of Staff to the President, Femi Gbajabiamila, and Ogun State Governor, Dakwa Abiodun, on Saturday paid a visit to the residence of the late nonagenarian in Lekki area of Lagos State. They described the late Afenifere chieftain as a man of inestimable value who stood for truth and justice. Also, the Apex Igbo Socio-Cultural Organization, Ohaneze Ndibo, in a statement said that the demise of Pa Adebanjo represents an irreplaceable national loss for Nigeria, describing the late Afenifere leader as a rare breed of progressive elder statesman who transcended the limitations of tribalism and sectionalism. Now, factional Deputy President General Okechukwu Isigozoro says that the group has declared 2 traditional market days to mourn a true ally of the Igbo people. The federal government has dismissed bribery allegations made by Binance head of financial crime Tigran Gambarian, who spent 8 months in Nigeria's detention over financial crimes charges. Gambarian, a U.S. citizen, was recently released following intervention by the U.S. government. He alleged that 3 Nigerian lawmakers demanded a $150 million bribe, that's a $150 million bribe from him. However, the federal government has urged the public to disregard his claims entirely. Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, described Gambarian's allegations as a deliberate misinformation campaign, insisting that it was Binance, not Nigeria, that attempted to offer a $5 million payment to resolve its legal troubles. We'll take a quick break now. When we come back, we'll tell you how suspected thugs reportedly assaulted activist Showore journalists at Lagos City Marathon. Details of this and more after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. Now we have our correspondent Bettina Nweli, who is live at the residence of the deceased Pa Ayo Adebanjo. We understand that dignitaries and top people in Lagos or in the polity have been paying condolence visits in honor of Pa Ayo Adebanjo. Bettina, if you can hear me, kindly bring us up to speed on what is happening where you are at the moment.
And thank you so much. We've been here trying to cover the activities that are going on in the home of the late Pa Ayo Adebanjo. And of course, from the number of people who have tripped in and tripped out, you can tell the kind of man he was during his time here on earth. Now, Pa Ayo was someone who believed that the Yoruba nation is something that people must rally around and make sure that their voices are heard. He was someone that didn't joke with the country in general, and I'm talking about Nigeria. And because of that, we have seen people from different walks of life, different calibers, come into this home to pay their condolences. If you had called on me about 10-15 minutes earlier, you would have seen us with the Chief of Staff of the country. I'm talking about Femi Gbajabiamila, and also the Governor of Ogun State, Dapo Abiodun, was here earlier, but they have both left. And we just finished speaking to the daughter of the deceased Pa Ayo Adebanjo, who spoke at length about the kind of person her father was and the kind of love he had for the country. And she did mention and say that he died on Valentine's Day. So what other kind of love will be visible, will be available for a man of his stature and age for his country, Nigeria?
All right, you did talk about, you know, the Chief of Staff coming to pay condolence visit, and also the Ogun State Governor as well. Were you privy to, you know, speak to them on how they felt about, you know, the death of Pa Adebayo?
Can you hear me?
Yes, Bettina, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Ayo Adebanjo, and how much of a loss his life will be to the family and to Nigeria in general?
Well, thank you very much. I am Shola Ebishin, Secretary General of Faure. Baba is difficult to describe. Ayo Adebanjo is everything that is good for the Nigerian nation. He was preoccupied throughout his life with how best to run Nigeria as a true federal state. And he started that right from 1951 when he joined politics, really through the Action Group. Before then, he has been a Zikist in times of his belief. But when Chief Obafemi Awolowo came with Action Group in 1951 and all it represented for a federal state for Nigeria, Ayo Adebanjo was one of those founding fathers of the political party. You will not surprise that Afenifere today is a Yoruba interpretation of the social welfareist ideology of the Action Group. Towards the end of his life, particularly, Ayo Adebanjo, we learned a lot at his feet, particularly for equity in the Nigerian state, that every ethnic nationality in Nigeria should have a sense of belonging in the running of the affairs of Nigeria. And that was what Ayo Adebanjo, I believe, Nigerians will most remember him for, as a man of conviction, as a man of courage, as a man whose position on national issues you do not need to guess. He says it the way he feels it.
All right, thank you very much, sir. And I want to believe that this is also a celebration of life because of the age of Baba.
Oh, yes, celebration. I tell you, like we in our release yesterday, in the last 10 years, when we are here gathered, or we are gathered in his house in Ijebu, Baba would tell us that he was already at the departure lounge by virtue of his age, in order to encourage us, for us to fight on for what he believed. One Nigeria, a federal state, that every ethnic nationality we have a sense of equitable belonging, and that's what Afenifere represents. I'm Chief Ayo Adebanjo.
All right, thank you very much, sir. You've heard it from the Secretary General of Afenifere. Indeed, it is a celebration of life, considering how much good days and years that Baba had here while he was alive.
He indeed left a mark, on a lot of people, and this is indeed, as you have said, a celebration of life. Thank you so much, Bettina, for the update. A chieftain of Arewa Consultative Forum and former secretary of the defunct Action Congress, Usman Bugaje, has called for collegiate system of leadership in the country to end the North-South presidential rotation debate. Bugaje said he would prefer the country to get the best hands wherever they might come from to run the country than narrowing the presidential choice to a region of the country. Now, he called for inclusive governance based on competence and denounced the perennial regional divisions and corrupt leadership in Nigeria. The political and civil society activists stressed the need for a new narrative that combined popular participation with tangible developmental outcomes. Now, joining us to help make sense of this is Executive Director, Not Too Young to Lead Initiative, Elvis Akpobi. Hello, Elvis. Thank you so much for joining us at this time.
Thank you for having me. Good evening.
All right, let's first of all hear your thoughts, on what Usman Bugaje has actually said about voting in presidents out of merit and not out of regional participation.
Okay, for me, I subscribe to what he's saying, because to make progress, there must be inclusion, and oftentimes our leadership recruitment process seems to be about either from recruiting from a particular region and over to a particular region, which for me has not really helped us. So if there is a way to see towards new narrative that will be of benefit and development to Nigeria, I think it's worth giving it a shot.
All right. Now, he actually, Bugaje has actually said that, he called for the best hands. But how sure are you that, that would actually be followed through with, considering that there's so many people who want to be at the helm of affairs, and most of them are not even ready or competent enough to lead the country?
Yes. As a graduate of the National Institute of Policy and Strategic Studies, I was going to understand that everything rises and falls on leadership, and the mindset of those who make policies for us determine how we'll grow. Most of the bleakness we're faced with today as a country, the reflection of the people, the mindset of the people that have contracted governance with our vote to, and their policies affect us directly or indirectly. So for me, I think in such government where a committee of people, where power is distributed equally, where people from different regions comes to say put on their interests and what they need, I think that's better than what we are running today, where a particular zone produces a particular president, and you find out that power distribution is not always equal, and the particular zone is always left out, which for me does make development very fast. And
well, Elvis, you are the executive director of Not Too Young to Lead Initiative, and what do you have to say about our leaders finally giving power to the younger generation and giving opportunities to the younger generation to actually lead the country?
Nigeria is blessed with young people who are in sync with character, capacity, and competence, but oftentimes it's this government of recycling, same old people recycling themselves. This is not to say we are not ready as young people to take up the mantle of leadership, but if you agree with me today that there is this money-backed politics going on, and there's also this social strata politics going on. Most of the young people you see today that are even at the table where policies are being made are either they have a lot of money, they have deep pockets, or they have the right surname, and that has really kept us back. Nigeria today is blessed with people, young people who can change the narrative, who are accountable, who are responsive, but our policies, our electoral policies does not help these people come into power. So I think ahead of the next election, we should look inward, we should pick the right people, make laws and bills that we amend, that our electoral process will be amended for young people to come in. Not issues of fine, not young to run act as they signed, a bill has been signed, is not a law, but it's still the same thing because you need a lot of money to get involved in our electoral process. And this money, these young people do not have. But I know we have the will, we have that capacity to steer the ship of this country. Because young people young people that have been given privilege to, serve, they are doing well back in my state. But blessed with the governor that in Delta State that knows that when young people are given access to the tools to live their dream, the society will develop and restiveness reduces. That's why today ESCO is overwhelmed with young people with character, capacity, and competence, and young doctors are having access to government, and getting is right gradually.
Oh, all right. Well, thank you so much, Elvis Akpobi, for speaking to us.
For having me.
Away from that, the presidential candidate of the African Action Congress in the 2023 elections, Omoyele Sowore, was reportedly attacked by suspected thugs at the Lagos City Marathon on Saturday morning. Sowore and members of his media crew were assaulted while participating in the event. Now, the attackers also targeted journalists covering the marathon, injuring several and destroying cameras and other equipment. Let's move to the energy sector, where the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited has denied allegations that it is selling substandard petrol with a high burn rate. In a statement on Saturday, NNPCL spokesperson Olufemi Shoneye dismissed the viral video comparing fuel from NNPC and Dangote refineries. Now, the content creator claimed that NNPC's petrol lasted just 17 minutes in the generator, while Dangote's fuel ran for 33 minutes. NNPCL clarified that the fuel in question was sourced from the Dangote refinery and meets strict industry specifications. The company condemned the viral video as misleading and warned of legal action against those spreading false claims. NNPCL also urged Nigerians to rely on verified information, reaffirming its commitment to fuel quality and consistent supply. The lawmaker representing Pankshin Kanke Kanam Federal Constituency, Yusuf Gagdi, has dismissed claims of a battle between him and the Plateau State government over the ongoing 33-kilometer road project in Kanke local government area. Now, speaking in Jos, the Plateau State capital, after inspecting the project site, Yusuf Gagdi responded to remarks by Commissioner for Works Joshua Ubandoma, who accused him of initiating work on an existing state project without proper consultation or approval. News Central's Chizoba Nyongwe reports.
The contentious road projects are located in Shiwel, Dokbai, Taplik, and Gunji districts of Kanke local government area. Gagdi insists he obtained proper authorization before embarking on the project, saying his intervention was purely to boost development in the state.
I wrote to Governor Simon Lalong to do that job, that a contractor is being mobilized with peanut to commence that job, and I got approval to start that job. It wasn't commenced at Governor Lalong because until you get money released before you start that work. So money, the peanut that was put in the budget was released, about 100 million or so, was released in I think in December or January. Then the work commences at that moment or thereabout, during Governor Caleb Mutfwang regime.
Amid the controversy, Gagdi says he would rather relocate the project to another site within Kanke local government area if necessary.
Since the contractor won litigation, I don't want litigation. He said they have taken me to court. I saw a summon. I'm not scared of that either, but I will not give them what they want. Because in my own little doubt, they want me to take them to court to obtain court order, so that they will hide under the fact that I have obtained court order. So the road is under litigation. We are not going to do it.
Responding, the Commissioner for Works, Joshua Obandoma, insists that due process must be followed for all infrastructure projects.
Let us not begin to aggregate tension where there is no tension. This thing is very clear that this is the contractor who owns this project. It's still an existing contract, and he has written to us very clear that we should explain the rationale behind someone taking over his job. He started this job from the scratch. There was no road there. He opens the road to 33 kilometers. He has done all the cells work, that is the culvert, the bridges, which you and I, we saw most of the bridges. Someone did those bridges. It is not the contractor that did those bridges. How can you suddenly, and then make so much mess about things that is just a minor thing that we should sort? No one is sorting anybody. We're in governance to bring dividend of democracy to our people. A legislature is to make law. And we thank you that you're delving into executive function. Congratulations.
Obandoma further noted that while 49 road projects have been successfully rehabilitated in Jos Bukuru metropolis, the state remains committed to expanding development efforts to boost economic growth and improve residents' livelihoods. In Plateau, for News Central, Chizoba Aniori.
I will take a break now. When we come back, we'll speak to you on the rising tobacco addiction in Nigeria. Do stay with us. To health matters now. Health experts in Nigeria are calling on the government to enact fresh legislation to tackle a new wave of addiction affecting young adults and children in Nigeria, and also known as e-cigarettes or vapes. Now, these products, including electronic tobacco products, come in different flavors and variants, are gaining popularity among young Nigerians, are leading to a spike in tobacco addiction. Our correspondent, Joshua Marai, has the details.
According to the Global Tobacco Survey, one person dies every 6 seconds due to tobacco-related diseases. Of these deaths, 75% occur in low and middle-income countries, where more than 80% of the world's smokers, including those in Nigeria, live. The same report shows that 4.5 million adults in Nigeria, aged 15 years or older, currently smoke, while another 6.4 million adults are exposed to secondhand smoke in public places.
Painfully, tobacco, smoking affects every part of the body, from the ear to the nails to the toe. It affects it.
Despite these statistics, a new trend in smoking is emerging globally. E-cigarette, also known as vapes.
Unfortunately also, because of the sales and the shouting and the brouhaha against the tobacco, somehow the manufacturers have been able to move into the selling of the electronic tobacco.
With the e-cigarettes and the vapes, these products contain nicotine, and nicotine is a highly addictive substance, and some e-cigarettes, they can release nicotine into the bloodstream in as great a concentration as regular cigarettes can. And so people who turn to e-cigarettes, they stay dependent on these substances.
To address this challenge, health experts in Nigeria are calling for new and stronger regulations to curb this growing menace.
think we should see a new legal framework emerging because of vapes, and particularly because vapes are sold in very attractive flavors. So you have strawberry, mango, mint, lemon, all of these flavors that attract children. And traditionally, in fact, there's evidence to show that people who are lifetime smokers, adult smokers, they pick up the habits as children. And really, that is what the tobacco industry wants. They want lifetime consumers, people who will be dependent on their products and buy their products every day of their lives.
Experts warn that Nigeria must implement a national strategy or enact new regulations to tackle the rising use of vapes. They say that proper regulation is needed to control the consumption of these harmful substances. In Abuja for News Central, I am Joshua Imarayi.
Losing a loved one is heartbreaking, but the pain can be worsened by the legal hurdles of estate administration in Nigeria. Now, many assume that being named next of kin guarantees automatic access to a deceased person's estate, but this is far from reality. In this report, News Central's Igbalani Omoni explores the widespread misconception that has left many families in distress.
For Ijoma, the loss of a father in 2021 remains painful. But what she never expected was the exhausting legal struggle to access the estate. Despite her brother being listed as next of kin, the family has been unable to take possession of or sell their father's apartment.
The lawyer is saying we need those documents. We need the house papers before we can move and do the letter of administration. I see my father's names every time on the newspaper. Dangote shares, Cornell shares. You can't have any access to anything without all those documents. So the money in the Stanbic IBTC pension hanging there. You want to sell this property? If you were to even sell before now, if it was even going to go at all for 30 million, someone told me you will just sell for 15 million. It's a waste of his efforts. He worked to 70. Daddy said he wasn't making a will, that we were just 6 children from one woman. That are we going to go and fight over property? He wanted to sell it. I told him no. I feel bad telling him no now.
Ijoma's experience is not an isolated one. Bettina, who lost a loved one, shared a similar story.
It's been a long time. This is about some 8-9 years ago, but it took almost 6 months before we could access the funds of the person who had passed away. At some point, I was even going to give up and say, you know what, keep this thing, I'm tired, it's too stressful. And I almost think like it's done intentionally to stress people so that at the end of the day, you might just decide that, oh, let me leave it.
At the core of the issue is a widespread misunderstanding about the legal role of the next of kin.
Some account holders know, some don't know, and so they just believe that when they sign the next of kin form, and anything happen. But in some cases also, even the account holders are not interested in anybody coming to claim their money. I've had a case where I told the client, I said, why don't you write a will? The first question he asked me was, you won't kill me, next of kin. It's a general term for who can we call in the event of emergency, not to assess, properties.
When a deceased person leaves no will, a letter of administration is required to manage their estate. This document, obtained through a lengthy legal process, is often unfamiliar to many until they are caught in the system.
If you have a will, these are just easy things. It's not, you just bring the will and then the bank will need to confirm from the court if this really is the will, and it doesn't take time, maybe between 3 to 6 months, and you have all the funds available. Even with that, I think that's one area I think they should work fast on it than me coming up with a letter of administration to the bank will intend take it to the legal department take it to the high court, and you're giving me 6 months. I don't think that should be okay. Once you can confirm from the legal department, it shouldn't last more than between 14 working days or 1 month at least.
But what happens to estates left unclaimed?
The central bank came up with a policy that said, look, any fund that has not been used for about 12 years and maybe is not in an estate account, or even if it's in an estate, it has not been used, will be transferred back to the CBN, and the CBN will in turn now pay about 9% interest on those funds, and those funds could be used by the CBN or by the government, lending it to the government to use in their capital project.
To prevent the legal battles faced by Ijoma and Bettina, experts advise individuals to take proactive steps
You can wheel your phone, you can wheel an umbrella, you can wheel a car. Car is even big to wheel. You can wheel a book. If, as a young person, you can set up a small company with you, your wife, and children as shareholders, and then you and your wife as directors, and then use that company to acquire whatever you need to acquire. So if that company, all the assets belongs to the company, there is no asset tied to your name, there's no asset tied to your wife's name, but all the assets are in the companies, are held by the company. You don't need a will. You don't even need a letter of administration because there's nothing tied to your name. So in the event of demise, what just happens is a director just died, and so we need to change signature.
As Ijoma and her family continue to navigate the complex legal maze, they hope their story will serve as a lesson to others. In the meantime, experts stress the importance of drafting a will to avoid similar disputes. In Lagos 4 News Central, I am Iqbalani Omani.
Coming up, Togo holds historic Senate vote amid opposition backlash. This and more after this short break. Stay with us. Away from Nigeria, municipal and regional councillors in Togo began voting on Saturday in the country's first ever senatorial election, despite growing concerns that President Faure Gnassingbé is laying the groundwork to extend his grip on power indefinitely. Now, several opposition parties have boycotted the vote, while civil society groups have condemned the constitutional reform as a manipulative and undemocratic process. Now, under the new system, the presidency becomes a ceremonial role, with executive power shifting to the president of the Council of Ministers, a position currently held by Gnassingbé himself. Having ruled since 2005 after succeeding his father, who governed for 38 years, Gnassingbé's political maneuvers have fueled fears of an uninterrupted family dynasty. Now, in the world of sports, the Edo State Commission has honored 9 young cricketers who represented Nigeria at the ICC Under-19 Women's World Cup in Malaysia. Commission Chairman Amadine Desmond and Nabulele presented a 1 million naira cash prize to them, which includes Captain Lucky Paiti Obosetele and Vice Captain Agboya Peculiar. Now, the chairman expressed surprise at the athletes' young age and praised their achievements on the world stage. He also announced plans to upgrade training facilities to support their development. Special recognition was given to Nigeria Cricket Federation President Uyi Akpata for his contributions to the sport's growth. Still talking sports, Arsenal kept their title hopes alive with a crucial 2-0 victory over Leicester City, closing the gap on league leaders Liverpool to just 4 points. Now, the breakthrough came in the 81st minute when substitute Mikel Merino found the net at the far post following brilliant play from 17-year-old sensation Ethan Nwaneri. Now, the teenage midfielder was exceptional throughout, hitting the woodwork twice before creating the opener. Marino secured his brace with another far post finish just 3 minutes from time. The result was harsh on a determined Leicester side, who nearly took the lead themselves when Bobby de Cordova-Reid was denied by a crucial Miles Lewis-Kelly intervention. The Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame has announced its 2025 finalists. Now, the 17 finalists include New York Knicks legend Carmelo Anthony, Houston Rockets legend Dwight Howard, and the 2008 United States men's basketball team. Now, the names were chosen from committees in North America, women's, men's veterans, women's veterans, international, and contributors. The finalists will be put forward to the Honors Committee to be considered for election as members of the class of 2025. The new class will be announced in San Antonio on Saturday, April 5th at the NCAA Men's Final Four. And that's all at this hour. But before we go, here's another look at some of our major stories. We told you that Djibouti's Foreign Minister Mahmoud Ali Yusuf has been elected President of African Union Commission. We also told you that suspected thugs have reportedly assaulted activist Omoyele Sowore, journalist at Lagos City Marathon. Finally, we told you that NNPCL has denied selling bad fuel, confirmed supply from Dangote. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I'm Darshan Usman.